Hello, 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 Falcon family. This is Principal Brown coming back at you again. I am so happy and delighted. We are starting another series. This month, the month of April, is Black Women's History Month. And to kick that off, I can't be more excited to have our very own Judith Jones, who is Equity and Inclusion Officer in the Office of Performance Equity and Accountability here at CCPS. Judy, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. She's a busy woman, y'all. So the fact she got a couple moments to do the interview, I am thankful for you today. So I want to roll into these questions because I'm excited. So
yes, excited.
Tell me a little bit about, I introduced you as far as your title. What does all that mean, Judy? Like I said a whole bunch of stuff. What does that mean for somebody that doesn't know, that doesn't work for CCPS? And how long have you been doing that?
Okay, so yeah, you're right. Equity and Inclusion Officer, and the words equity and inclusion happen to be, unfortunately, buzzwords, but they do have meaning. And so what it simply means is that I am in charge of overseeing and making sure that our school system is one that has policies and procedures that are in fact equitable. And by equitable, we mean that we see every individual student and employee for the uniqueness that they bring, but also we are challenged to see all of the barriers and obstacles that can get in the way of them being either successful employees or successful students in our school system. And by inclusion, we mean included, making sure that our schools are welcoming environments for everyone, that when they come into our schools, that they feel seen, welcome, safe, and respected, that they can show up as their authentic self and still be open to the opportunity for growth, but also that I can be present as myself, and that is seen as an asset and not a liability. And so what that includes a lot, because we have to know what that means and we have to move in that direction. So with that comes training, which we call the work, cultural proficiency training, in which we create a space to have these conversations that need to occur, because we need to make sure that as a system that we do not have structural or institutional barriers that prevent our students of color or our employees of color or those of various social identifiers. We have to make sure that not only are we playing fair, but that we are looking at them in a special light so that we make sure they're not being overlooked. And so that's the biggest piece. So training is one part of it, but then just making sure that, again, that we're having inclusive environments in our schools and that we're providing a rigorous and equitable education to all students, no matter what.
Woo.
So I said a lot. That's a lot. I'm tired. I need to take a nap.
That's the answer that people want. That's the answer. So if she sounds very polished, that's because this is not her first interview, and so she already got that one in the card and like boom, just lay it down there.
But hold on, Mr. Brown, can I tell you? So that's the day job. I gotta give a shout out to my side gig. So
okay.
The side gig, and I'm really proud because in these stressful times of COVID and the pandemic, when so many things are happening, whether it's loss of life or loss of jobs or whatever, I'm thankful that I've been blessed to open up and start my business, Jones and Smith Racial Healing Clinic. And so on the side, that is what I do. I actually consult with nonprofit organizations or government agencies or businesses to do the exact same thing, to create a space where they can talk about how do we have an inclusive environment. And in order to do that, we have to have conversations about race. We have to have conversations about microaggressions and implicit bias and what does that mean. And so that's the greatest, right now I'm real pumped about that as well, to kind of help guide organizations through that process.
Yeah, and that's a new venture for you, and I'm excited for you in that. You and the good doctor, and
Yes.
I think that there's going to be huge things in the future in regards to that. So again, I'm happy that I know you, and eventually I'll be looking forward to my interview. For something within your company later on down the line after you guys continue to blow up, like I know it is, because I know the work is that important to you, and you take that home with you. So that's going to be excellent. I can't wait.
We're excited. Dr. Richard Smith is my wonderful business partner, and he is absolutely amazing. And so, yes, I can't wait for that interview.
So tell me a little bit about, I've talked to you offline a lot about that, but a lot of people don't know, and I think it's imperative with being Black Women's History Month, to talk about your background, your upbringing, how did you grow up, where did you grow up, those type of things.
Okay, so I am the proud daughter number 6. I'm child number 6, daughter number 4. I was born in Baltimore City, northwest side of Baltimore. I attended Hilton Elementary School on Hilton Street. Then went to Falstaff Middle School, and then graduated from Baltimore City College High School, home of the Knights, the castle on the hill. Yeah, and very proud of that. And my father was a pastor, and my mom, his leading lady, and just super proud that I grew up in the church, and also grew up in education. So two loves of my father and my mom that come through in who I am today. And again, that's the love of people and the love of education and the love of building people up. That is the foundation in which I was raised, but proud Baltimorean, and come through Baltimore City Public Schools. And taught in Baltimore City Public Schools prior to being here in Carroll County, Lake Clifton Eastern High School, or as Dr. Stanley Holmes used to say, the magnificent Lake Clifton Eastern High School. And so my very beginnings in education was in the Baltimore City Public School system. Best training ground ever. I'm going to tell you that now. So that was my little upbringing, and I fell into education. I was going to be a lawyer by all intents and purposes. That's what I thought. Went to Village Julie, got the paralegal degree, and then University of Baltimore, and received the history degree and the legal and ethical studies degree, and ended up teaching in the law-related education program in Lake Clifton and fell in love with it. And so I'm one of those ones that fell in love with education.
Yeah, don't we all? That's a similar story where you're doing something else. We've got so many people that started, and do it as like a second career or a second interest, and it grows in and they love it and they keep with it. So that's incredible. So when you decided to go into the field of education, how did you end up equity and inclusion and going into that whole, because it's different education and then what you're currently doing now? So
I was going on the track to be you, Mike. I wanted to be a principal because that's the next, that's how you do. You start off in teaching and you love it, and then you fall into administration, and literally that's what happened. My principal back then, Miss Lisa Tarter, reached out to me and said, Judy, have you thought of administration? And she, dropped that little seed there. I never really thought about it, because I love my babies. I love being in the classroom. But I started seeing how I could impact kids on a larger scale. And so I did the administration, and I thought, okay, next thing from being an assistant principal, is to go and be a principal. I started as an AP, though, getting involved with equity initiatives in the school system. So because, I'm one of few people of color in our school system, I was always asked to be on diversity teams. So I started off on the diversity leadership committee, in which I started doing equity training under the umbrella of Pat Laroni, who was the equity and supervisor of equity and community outreach was the original title. That was the role she had. And I always participated in those conversations. And I don't know how I fell into this. I remember expressing loving the work and doing the work. And then one day, the day after 4th of July, I get a call from Mr. Guthrie, at the time the superintendent, who's like, can you come to my office? So after I felt nauseous, it was like, what I do? I had my story ready. I was going to say what had happened was, you don't get called to the superintendent's office.
Baltimore City has a totally different thing. Superintendent, it's bad news. So
you don't even want to go. It's like I quit. Right? So you don't even get called. And if you do get that call, so I got to tell you, Mike, I remember because I was cleaning my office that day. I had, the kids were out of the building. I had no makeup on, the t-shirt, jeans. I was going to clean up the office. And got this call and was like, let me go home and change. Let me, if I'm going to get fired, let me look good. And he offered me the opportunity of a lifetime, which was to fill in at that time as the acting supervisor of equity and community outreach. And he said, I'm going to give you a day to think about it. You got to give me a day. Go home, think about it. And I thought about it and I said, what an incredible opportunity. And that started me to where I am now. So that's my story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But again, and you've been, how long you been in your current position now? It's been some time, right?
Man, Mike, it'll be 6 years, July 1st. Okay. 6 years. So that time has gone by. When I think about it, I'm blinking because I've been in Carroll County for 15 years. I cannot believe it. But yet here I am.
Yeah, doing the work. What would you say? What would you say is the most difficult with that work? Like, and again, I know because we talk all the time. Like, what's the most difficult part of what you do? And I guess also what's like the most rewarding part of the things that you do?
Okay, so challenging is easy because you and I have had these talks, and you've personally have just uplifted me. You'll randomly send me something of encouragement because you understand the heaviness that comes with this job, and so there is heaviness. One, it's heavy being a Black woman doing this work and sort of being the go-to person for a lot of issues. That's one. It's hard to carry that. The second is that the topic and what we have to talk about and what I have to present to people is one that if the atmosphere is not right, if the delivery is not right, it could be very difficult. And so, I'm negotiating relationships all the time because I'm getting people to talk about that which they're not comfortable with, and that's race. It's a balance because you don't want people to think that you only care about the Black kids or the Black employees. It's like, no, I care about all, and equity is about that. Equity is about caring for all, but I have to present you with some information and a way of thinking and an understanding of yourself and your cultural experiences that may create blind spots that could, in fact, keep others from feeling included. And so we call it the work because it's not easy. It's not easy because equity is a work of the heart. It's ongoing. We all have bias. And so while I'm helping people through this process, I'm also going through it all the time myself. Right. So the nature of the work itself is difficult. And then being the person the face of it, it's also difficult. If for some reason the community's not feeling it, you hear about it. Oftentimes you are the target of negative conversations. Those that are opposed, talking about race, those who want to make sure we're not indoctrinating their students, which we're not. Those that may not understand. You have to have graciousness and patience in order to do this work. And I have to always be mindful, again, of the manner in which I deliver this work. And my goal is to help not win anybody over, but to present a different perspective so that we can move forward. The most rewarding then becomes the daily transformations that I get to see. And one of the greatest was during one of the darkest times in our country was with the George Floyd case. And it's just, sort of surreal that we're full circle now that we're in the midst of the trial. But yes. You and I remember talking last year and we were like, we're not doing good. Like we're showing up at work, but we're tired, we're irritable, we're dealing with anxiety, we're dealing with all these things. And this was the time that our school system said, Judy, we want to have the conversations. We need to have the conversations. And what was intended to be a one session of courageous conversations turned out to be 8 sessions with people from all positions in our county coming together to talk about race. Something that I have received pushback on and those before me. And to have people run to it and not be mandated to do it, but to say we want to, that's the beauty, that's the reward. When I see students, advocacy groups and ally groups taking leadership roles and saying, this is what we need to see from our system. And we see kids advocating for each other of all races and all ethnicities. This is the growth that I'm seeing, and that is, in fact, the greatest reward.
Yeah. I mean, again, from the time that you took over to now, 6 years, seems like a short amount of time, but there's been a lot of progress that has happened in that short period of time that I think attributes to a lot of the hard work and stuff like that you've actually put into it. So sometimes you got to stop. Like I told you, sometimes you got to stop, look back, reflect, see what's, especially during the struggling times, and see how much progress has been made. Yes. So you can appreciate that, understand it, and kind of, recharge and kind of move forward with the work. Yes. So yeah, it's important. So from a Black woman's perspective, right?
Yeah.
Have you had to deal with any gender/racial related issues growing up as you transition in your career from teacher to administrator to now, being a central office employee?
I think absolutely. I have been an assistant principal and have always been assumed to be anything but the assistant principal. Are you the administrative assistant? Are you, just any, you're definitely not the principal. Can we talk to who's in charge? Those type of things. If people wanted to go over your head, they quickly, so I'm going to talk to somebody else. So as women, I think that that's a shared experience that we have. Also in the demeanor in which we approach things. So you're always mindful of the way you do things, especially as a Black woman. You don't want to be called the angry Black woman, right? That's just me being real and being candid because, that's how I roll, and being transparent. Everything from how I move my neck to whether I'm talking and I'm clapping, how we like to do, which you're not going to do is...
I still talk with my hands. I'm sorry.
It's a rhythmic thing, right? You're constantly, again, having to think about how am I coming across? If you're outgoing, if you're assertive, if you're full of energy, You want to make sure that you're not being seen as too assertive. And assertive is a good thing, except for at times when when it's a woman. Then all of a sudden assertiveness is a problem. And so, yeah, I think we've all experienced that as women, and particularly as Black women. For some reason, our tone has to be different. The gestures and the movement of our body have to be different so that you are not seen as angry, aggressive, or even a threat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's real. And I mean, that has to, again, go into, we talk about the weight of the job. I mean, it's even magnified more.
Yes.
Your teacher, people pay attention, but I mean, every step up that you go, people are paying more attention, to you and how you handle yourself. So again, that goes along with the weight of it all. It's like adding more pounds onto
just a little bit.
Yeah. So I probably know the answer to this question. I gotta ask it to you anyway. Throughout your life, I mean, you always talk about heroes and who has been an inspiration in your life.
Yeah.
Who is that for you? And what gives you the kind of motivation each and every day, difficult days, and you're reflecting on who's that person for you?
Man, it's two people, my dad and my mom, right? My father, Dr. Monroe Saunders, Sr., amazing man. My faith, because I was introduced and I walk in my lens of Christianity. But my father said two things always. One, the power is in the love. And my dad was one who, from the very beginning, always had different people from different races, ethnicities, religions come and stay at our home. He always opened his home up to those that were even trying to have a better life that may have come from other places, other countries. It would be nothing for me to have someone from Jamaica or England or Mexico. These are all places where they would come and reside, and Dad would create a space for them to help get them on their feet. That was my dad and my mom, always teaching me to lead with love. He was strong about education. So for me, college wasn't an option. It was an expectation. We know differently now, but in his mind, coming from a family of 14 and my granddaddy selling his only car just so that my father could go to college. And his story, my father in high school was denied being valedictorian because he was Black.
Wow.
And was then made the salutatorian.
Wow.
The salutatorian at that time, but worked his way up and continued to do great things. Became the vice president of the school board for Baltimore City Public Schools for years under Alice Penderhughes. And his name happens to be, he attended Howard University School of Divinity. My father was the first and one of the few students that went through that program with a straight A, 4.0 GPA average. And his name is on the walls there at Howard University. He was just a man that came from very meager means in Florence, South Carolina, on a plantation called Mars Bluff. That's where he came from. And left South Carolina to come raise his 3 nephews because his oldest brother had passed away, and moved to Baltimore to help raise them. And met my mom, and together they were just this force to be reckoned with. So all that I am, all that I believe and been taught about love, about perseverance, all came from my parents. So I'm just so thankful and blessed that I didn't have to look far for heroes. I just had to look up to my dad and to my mom, who thankfully is still here and just turned 90 years old on March 15th. So I got to give a shout out to my mom, Mrs. Alberta Brockington Saunders. I love you, Mom. She is my hero, my rock.
Yeah.
So.
And the thing is, I just had a sidebar question. I mean, can your mom sing? Because I mean, I got blown away. Like, what is it? The Culture Expo, like, before COVID broke out, and you breaking in the song, and your sister's singing songs. I said, what in the world's happening here?
Let me tell you, the whole family is musical. So there's 6 of us. There's my brother, Bishop Monroe Saunders Jr., my sister Jackie, who you saw there. Jackie is Facebook Live, 9 o'clock every night, playing the piano and singing. She's been doing it for a year since the pandemic. Got to give Jackie a shout out. My sister Esther, who is a song, you think I can sing? Esther went to Peabody. So she's our operatic songbird. And then there's my brother Jason, who sings, plays the drums. My sister Rachel, who plays the piano and has the voice of an angel. And then you have me. I was more the drama writer and director, but I sing a little bit. So yeah, my mom sings. My daddy sang. We just sang.
Yeah, I want to get the whole family together. Can we put on a concert or something like that?
Oh my goodness, we got to put on that concert.
Right.
And
look, you look for entertainers for the Culture Expo, and I'm like, you might as well just have a family just do it they can do it for free. There you go. Boom, done, over with.
I'd like to share the wealth, expose new talent. But yes, you got to meet my brother and my other siblings. They're amazing too.
Awesome.
In their own gifts.
Right. So going back to being a Black woman, have you felt as though progress has been made for Black women, and do you feel like there's still work that still needs to be done?
Man, I got to tell you, when I look at the amazing Black women that are before me, yes, there is amazing progress. I mean, come on now. We have a vice president now, Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris came from Howard University, HBCU. We have Stacey Abrams. We have all of those women working in the trenches that are doing the work to get voter suppression dealt with, encouraging and educating our community of the importance of voting and the fact that you can't just protest and get upset, but you have to be a part of the process and you have to be a part of the change that you want to see. Mm-hmm. There's more Black women that are leading up organizations and corporations and having their own businesses, whether it be small businesses or not. I'm going to just talk about how amazing Black women are holding it down. They're still being the amazing mothers that they are in their homes during this time. And it's always been a strong Black woman in that family holding it together. I'm surrounded by them, and they're called mom, they're called sisters, they're called aunts. They're my girlfriends. And so, yes, the opportunities that they're doing, they're acting like there are no barriers. And we know they're there, but we're just stepping over them. Right. We're not being hindered by them. Does more work need to be done? Absolutely. This work is always ongoing. The work for gender equality is still going on. There still needs to be equity in regards to salaries. There still needs to be opportunities to be CEOs of companies and corporations, and we see it being done. We see it being done in entertainment, but we need to have more opportunities for us to be examples and role models to be seen by young girls that are looking up to us. So this is a great time, I feel, for Black women.
Right. And you are an example for your beautiful daughters. I mean, you got to give them a shout out too. I'm not going to let this interview go by without you mentioning them, but what an inspiration that you have been for those beautiful young ladies.
I got to tell you, I have 2 amazing, beautiful young ladies, Judith Jones, who just turned 23, March 24th. She is a junior designer, graduated from Carroll County Public Schools, and went on to get her degree and certification in interior design. And then my beautiful baby girl, Jada Janelle, who also came through Carroll County Public Schools, received her cosmetology license. And so she's working in the salon and keeps mommy looking, good, all this color to hide up the gray and the stress that I have. So I have two beautiful daughters that I've been blessed with that I'm just so proud of, and they keep me going. They keep me going, and they are also the ones that I can come home to and have conversations, and we talk about race and we talk about these topics, and I'm pouring into them and they pour into me. So you're right, Mike. As you have two girls, you're a girl dad. I'm gonna tell you, the girls are good. The girls are beautiful.
Yeah, I'm gonna need your help in a few years when they get to be teenagers. I'm gonna be like, Lord, help me.
You're gonna need it, right? Because all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute. All of a sudden they looking beautiful and shapely. Like, wait a minute, we're gonna have a conversation right now. Happens overnight.
Right.
Right.
So I'm not gonna hold you. I got one more question for you. This is centered around Black Women's History Month. Like, what does that month mean? Because when I started doing this, some people are like, I didn't even know this month existed. Like,
right.
I know you probably have, but I mean, we don't know unless we actually shed light to those months. So what does it mean to you to be Black Women's History Month?
First, I'm honored that you even asked me to kick off this month. I think it is just important for us to recognize not only the struggles, but mostly the success of Black women during this time to celebrate. Just so much, again, so many powerful examples. And I'm so glad that we can acknowledge Rosa Parks and Maya Angelou and Oprah Winfrey, but we also can look to the future and who they paved the way for, and the Cicely Tysons and the Michelle Obamas, and just a cadre of wonderful, dynamic women. What does it mean to be a Black woman? And to say it with pride, and to say it with such a determination of just understanding that we were built for this. Our ancestors went through so much, and here we are now, afforded so much opportunity. It's just a great time for us to just blossom and to move forward, because we are accomplishing a lot. We are beautiful. There's a saying that says, "Your Black is beautiful." It's a shame, but we actually had to instill that in ourselves and in our children, because society for so long tried to say that Black was not beautiful, but it is. And not only is it beautiful, but it's intelligent, it's smart, it's strong, it's creative, it is optimistic, it is knowledgeable. We're so many wonderful things. And to be able to celebrate our culture in this way, it's just an honor. So, yeah, I'm just proud. I'm proud to be a part of the group. So my sisters out there getting it done, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you.
Listen, and that's the reason why, I wanted to do this and to keep these interview series, going, is because it really, during these negative COVID times, it gives people a shot in the arm of positivity. Yes. To know that people that they work shoulder to shoulder with, or if you've never worked with you, you're given some words of encouragement, and you get to see that, some inspiration within your own life on what you can achieve. So it doesn't matter what age you are, right? We talk about that all the time. It doesn't matter what age you are. From 0 to 100, you could still be inspired, and you could still do things in your life, even if you haven't accomplished those things yet. So I'm hoping that this interview with Miss Judith Jones is inspiration to all of you. I want to thank you again for taking the time out for doing this, because I know it is not easy. You've got a billion other things going on,
This
But
is worth it. This gives me life.
yeah, I appreciate it. So we'll look forward to putting this out there. And again,
Yes.
I hope that it's inspiration to everybody. So thank you, Judith.
Man, thank you so much, Mike. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am.